am Sarah Bryant. I'm the Director of Programs, and I'm joined here today by Colleen Rose, who's the Manager of Programs.
Hello,
by
everyone.
Kayla, by Kayla and Roslyn, who are Travel Grants Specialists. So they really know the details on making sure that all of the fine print is read and communicated on how these things work, and they're here to answer your questions again. I'm going to begin a slide share because we do have some slides to go through, and we think it would help us guide you through the application. All right, there we are. I'm going to share my screen, and I think we're there. And say we are the AMS Programs Department staff, and we are here for you. We are excited to talk about travel grants and travel grants in particular for the joint mathematics meeting. Who is eligible? So who is this for? We are looking to support undergraduate students who will be presenting a poster or giving a talk. Note that the deadline for undergraduate applications for the travel grant is on October 21st. We also want to support graduate students, primarily those in the last 2 years or so of study. The date for that is October 14th. And lastly, we are thrilled to announce a new source of funding that allows us to support faculty members at primarily undergraduate institutions, and that grant is open until October 28th. We're here to answer questions about these things and also to compel you to apply. We really want you to join us at the Joint Math Meetings, the JMM, which is the largest annual gathering of mathematical people in the world. So we have a really rich program of activities and lots of opportunities for networking and connecting and sharing math and meeting people and learning. And we really would like to see you there. I'll say a little bit about the Joint Math Meeting now. All right, so I pulled a screen cap from the Joint Mathematics landing page. We can drop right now in the chat a link to the Joint Mathematics landing page. And you can see here that there is a welcome banner, and then along the side on the left, all sorts of information about our COVID protocols that will be in place for the joint meetings, the program, all of the activities, the social events, and on and on. So a lot of information embedded on the left-hand side of the Joint Mathematics Meetings page. You can see some speakers. We'd really like you to check it out and get excited about the opportunities to learn here. Where is it? So Joint Math Meetings in 2023 is going to be in Boston, Massachusetts. So yes, it is Boston in January. We still want to fund you to come and visit us and travel there and join other mathematicians, and it'll be a wonderful time. I'm going to hand over the slide deck now, slide control, to our specialists who are going to talk about some of the particulars of the travel grants. And we'll go in an order. We'll go undergraduate travel grants, then graduate student travel grants, and then the PUI faculty travel grants. And at the end, we'll have some frequently asked questions and some fine print stuff that applies to all. So hope you'll stay with us throughout the presentation. All right, so I'm ready to hand it off.
Okay, so the undergraduate student travel grants, we can offer support from the NSF. And the AMS is offering up to $1,080 for JMM 2023 to over 100 students who are presenting in the following JMM sessions: the Pi Mu Epsilon undergraduate poster session, the AMS SciAm special session on research in mathematics by undergraduates and students in the post-baccalaureate programs, and other special or contributed sessions at JMM. To be eligible, you would need to submit your abstract through the AMS abstract submission portal by September 13th. However, there is an update, and we were able to extend the deadline for the PME poster and contributed paper session through October 10th. In addition, you must also be a full-time undergraduate in a U.S. institution. Some supporting materials needed are the institutional authorization and a copy of the abstract acceptance letter, which you can return to your application at a later time once you receive that letter. Please note the deadline for this is October 21st. We want you to leave here ready to apply. So let's look at the application together. In the beginning, we're going to ask for some basic information. What institution are you enrolled at? What's your current enrollment status? And how would you participate in the undergraduate at JMM, as an undergraduate at JMM? If you're going to be receiving any additional funding, you'll want to make sure you note that here. One of the main requirements would be the institutional authorization. This is from someone who is your advisor or other faculty who would verify that you are a student at the institution that you have indicated. This is also where you would upload your abstract submission letter approval. There are 2 upcoming AMS travel grant opportunities for graduate students, and Rosalind will provide additional information on them.
Before we move on, I want to go back and point out how exciting it is that we do have an update on the PME application window. So this is a very late arriving news. And so Colleen has dropped in the chat the link that will now take, if you have undergraduate students who have a poster or talk ready to go and missed the deadline for submission of abstracts, which does come quite early, and are still interested in getting this funding, please apply to the PME poster or talk session now, and you can still then apply for this funding to help support your trip. So I just wanted to pause on that and point out that the link is in the chat, and we hope that you take note of that. Thanks. And then we'll go into the graduate student work with Rosalind.
Okay, thank you so much, Kayla and Sarah. So the first graduate support we'll be talking about is the Graduate Student JMM Travel Grant, which the AMS offers with support from the AMS Next Generation Fund, along with the NSF. And this award offers up to $1,300 for the JMM 2023 to 150 possible graduate students. So eligibility. Students should be in their last 2 years of graduate study. Any student that has previously received a travel grant for the JMM would not be eligible to receive another JMM travel grant. The exception for this year only is those awardees from last year, JMM 2022, earlier this year, maybe I should say, who were slotted to receive grant support, but were not able to attend because JMM was canceled and pivoted to virtual. So those people would still be eligible to apply for this particular award. Supporting materials needed are minimal. You just need that institutional authorization. And the deadline for this grant is October 14th. So this is what the application will look like. Once again, this is just some basic information. What year did you begin your graduate studies? When do you expect to complete your PhD? And what is your specialty, your area of study? On this slide, you may want to prepare in advance. There's a couple of things that you might want to be that you might want to have ready, typed out to just paste in. And you should note that there is a character limit of about 2 to 3 paragraphs. You'll want to list any sessions in which you are speaking and sessions you plan on attending. And you'll be explaining why attending this meeting would be beneficial to your research. Okay, here's the ever important institutional authorization section. And you would be putting in the email and name of your advisor and their title, or someone in the department that supports you, most likely your advisor, and the institution that they're at. You'll check that send email on submit box so that they get automatically notified to come back and give you that important authorization. So we hear back frequently from awardees that this funding makes a big impact for them. and we want you to apply if we haven't made that clear. We also have another opportunity for graduate students to support their participation at the AMS sectionals. So here we go. The AMS sectional, meaning Travel Grants for Graduate Students, awards $250. The deadline for the spring sectionals is November 18th, and funding is not available for meetings that are held virtually. And this grant is awarded only once. Supporting materials needed, once again, that important institutional authorization only. The application will ask you about special sendings you are attending and if you are speaking at any of the sessions. And additionally, you want to prepare a statement as to how attending this meeting will benefit you. Your feedback form is required after the meeting, and that can be returned with your voucher. These spring sectionals are taking place in Atlanta, Georgia, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Fresno, California, which all sound like really lovely places to travel to. Note that this travel grant cannot be used for any virtual meetings. And there should be a link in the chat for to the sectionals page. Note that when you log on to mathprograms.org, there are 2 graduate travel grants applications listed there. So you might want to take a close look now at what those will look like when you get there. It should be fairly clear though. Once again, the deadline for the JMM graduate grant is October 14th, and that spring sectional deadline is November 18th. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have the primarily undergraduate faculty travel grants, and Kayla will be providing some additional information on this grant.
Thank you. With generous support from a private AMS donor, 50 awards will be made to support travel, lodging, subsistence, and registration. The maximum reimbursement amount will depend on the applicant's AMS membership status at the time of JMM. Support of up to $1,050 for non-members and up to $2,100 for members. The deadline for this travel grant is October 28th. To be eligible, applicants must reside and work in the U.S. and be employed full-time by U.S. institutions, typically offering a master's, bachelor's, or associate's as their highest degree. They must be principally involved as a faculty member in such areas as mathematics, statistics, or other mathematics education research. Applicants should provide evidence that their participation in JMM will benefit their research, teaching, or departmental leadership. They should also show how the support from this grant would be key to their traveling to the JMM site. Applicants may utilize the grant to participate in JMM activities such as giving a talk in one of the sessions, serving as a panelist or workshop presenter, or participating in the AMS short course or AMS Cheers and Leadership workshop. And we're going to drop a few links in the chat that will direct you to the short course and the Cheers and Leaders workshop. The beginning of the application will ask for some basic information. Please note the membership status will not determine eligibility, but will determine your funding level. We ask that you provide some background information and provide information on other support you may be receiving to travel to the JMM. You'll be able to describe your anticipated activities at JMM and explain how JMM will contribute to advancing or reimagining your research portfolio. Now that we have summarized the travel grants and showed you the applications, we'll provide some reimbursement details.
So reimbursement details to note, our grants do not cover travel, which does not occur. Travel insurance is highly recommended, even though it is not reimbursed by the grant itself. But it's best to cover your initial outlay by purchasing that travel insurance, because as we have learned, anything can happen, anything can go wrong, and unexpected things may arise. Airfare that you purchase must be through a U.S. carrier. Paid receipt will be needed for any air travel that occurs, luggage fees, and ground transportation to and from the airport only. So if you are doing any off-site visiting, that's great, but the travel grant will not reimburse that ground transportation, only transportation that occurs to and from the airport. Thank you. Living expenses, hotels and meals are reimbursed at $155 a day for students and $265 a day for faculty. If you're sharing expenses with another JMM attendee, every receipt must show proof and method of payment by the traveler. If the receipts show a different name, proof of repayment to that person must be included. And a feedback form will be required after the meeting, and that can be returned with the voucher. That's not a problem. Save your receipts, and for the sectional, save your badges. Okay, if there are any questions now, you can drop them in the chat, or you can use the raise hand reaction from the toolbar below.
Awesome. It looks like we have already a question from Greg. Greg, do you want to unmute and tell us what the question is?
Yeah, I guess I've got a couple of questions here. Maybe the shortest is just about, so I'm a graduate student, and with the institutional authorization, just to make sure, that's just an email that gets sent to like my PhD advisor, and they click a box that says, yep, Greg's a student here. There's not like any other like form that needs to be filled out for that.
That's correct. So
Okay.
the Rosalind, can you speak to the institutional authorization? The person receives an email, and then it's a very quick turnaround. It's not a letter or anything of that nature.
Yeah,
it's a confirmation.
they're just confirming. They'll get a email notification from math programs that will give them directions on how to provide that institutional authorization. And yeah, there's no lengthy no lengthy document required from them for that.
Yes, no, that sounds great. Second, you mentioned living expenses on a previous slide. Is that separate funding from the $1,300 that for travel, or is that from the same pool?
That's from the same pool.
Great.
So sometimes applicants have to, or awardees rather, have to make choices about how the grant is going to be allocated.
Yep. Great.
Personally.
And then last, you mentioned that there were 150 awards for graduate students. What are the criteria for picking the 150? Is it like a lottery? Is it, you know, is it based on like the quality of the application materials somehow? What's kind of the process there?
So we do look for impact. So for these grants, we're looking to make the greatest impact. So reading, and this is done at the AMS, but reading the materials provided in terms of the expected activities and engagement at the JMM is the primary criteria for determining award.
Great. Thank you. All right, I think that's all I have.
We might have had more in the chat, so let me check that really quickly. We have a question from Savita. If you are not a current student, can you still attend and apply? So all of our funding is based on, you know, student or faculty status. So we have undergraduate status for the undergraduate travel grants, and graduate student status that's verified by institutional authorization for the graduate student travel grants, and then faculty status. So our funding does not cover those who are no longer students. It may be the case that there are some funding sources out there, but it would not be through our AMS Travel Grant program. And the recording will be sent, link to the recording will be sent to everyone who registered for the webinar. So we'll make sure that you have that and the slides as well. Appreciate that question. If you're a graduate student, but not in your last 2 years, we have a question here. but will be presenting research to qualify for funding. We would say that we prioritize the graduate students who are in the last 2 years, but if you are not in your last 2 years and you are presenting, please do apply. So we would welcome your application, and it may be the case that we would be able to fund that application at some level, although we do prioritize and focus our funding on students in their last 2 years of graduate study.
Sorry, follow-up question. So I saw like on the website a couple of days ago, there was like undergrad funding and graduate student funding, and then there was like something for like special AMS sessions, and there was like a big list of like what are the sessions, but like I'm not sure if maybe I misunderstood, if there is like different type of grants for other than like the usual undergrad and grad grants, or?
So the grants that we have that we're focused on today primarily were on joint math meetings participation, and that was for undergraduates, graduate students, and then the new category is faculty at primarily undergraduate institutions. But what you may be referring to is that we do have support for graduate students separate from the joint math meetings, that is for attendance at the spring sectionals. So we had a short list of 4 AMS sectional meetings coming up next year, and it's the same funding source and same similar application. So we're raising awareness about that at the same time, hopefully to give people a really good head start in planning for the spring. Does that address your question?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Can I ask a question based on the reply you gave me about the attendance? I am a master's student who has graduated already. Can I still present and or attend the JMM?
You're certainly very welcome at the joint mathematics meetings. So there is the rich program and lots of different ways to participate. So the upload portal for submitting an abstract for a talk has in general, again, already closed. September 13th was the close for that. But we do still welcome your participation at the meetings as an attendee, as someone who's there to network and learn. And we can drop the link in the chat once again, but we'll get you into the joint math meetings registration page, and you can see that registration levels are dependent on certain factors, including AMS member and all sorts of other factors. So you can find the level that best matches where you're at. And if you have any questions about that, you're very welcome to reach out to us directly, since we're here. We do have a few links here that are important. And you can see a way to contact us there on the screen if anything else comes to mind as you're looking into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we want you at the joint mathematics meeting, so please attend. We have another hand raised. Hi, Atika.
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, thanks for holding this session. And I had 2 questions. One is, I came across the graduate student grant request application, which I think is due by October 14th, if I'm not wrong. So do we have to be in the last 2 years of grad school to be able to apply for that?
Well, that is our priority. So as you know, these funding sources are linked to proposals that map out a priority. But we do welcome your application if you are not sure that you're in your last 2 years. And you will just indicate in there, we gather information about what your expected date is and when you entered. So you may still apply.
All right. And in case we are doing some presentation in one of the, say, AWM sessions, and so I'm still not clear about the funding details properly. That's why I'm asking this question. So if they do promise us some funding, then does that mean we should not apply for the application through the JMM portal? for funds?
Okay, that's a really good question. There's someone on the team that wants to take that. I've been talking just because I've been talking. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, so you already have funding, or you're expecting to get funding from NSF in addition to possibly applying for the grant through AMS?
So I am presenting in one of the AWM poster sessions. So they did write to us that they would be providing us some funding. So I'm still just getting the details from them regarding how much they would cover. So does that mean I'm not eligible to apply for the AMS JMM grant on the portal?
It does not. No, you can certainly apply.
Okay.
There is a section that may ask you if you're receiving additional funding, and you can just make a notation there if you happen to know at the time you complete your application.
All right. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh, and I see a question in the chat from a student who is in a master's program. Can they still apply for the graduate grant? That's a very good question.
Yes, you can.
Oh, and Greg.
Yeah, I thought of another one. When when could we expect to hear back whether or not we received the travel grant?
It's a great question. We do have that date. Just have to pull it up. We're all racing to get that date.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get that information up. It's just
Yeah.
taken me a minute.
All
I
of
should have
the
been
AMS
prepared for
people-
that question.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Yep.
But it is in November. I want to say mid. I'll speak loosely right now. Say mid-November. So I'm going to make note of that question and make sure that we include that information as we send you out this webinar link, so that anything that we were not 100% clear on, we include the answer to that.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much.
Okay, actually, I do have the dates now, if you want me to give you the actual dates.
Oh, sure.
So right now, if you apply for the graduate student travel grant, you should hear something around October 29th, which is close enough to November 1st. Undergraduate students travel grants will be awarded. You'll get an email around November 15th. That's mid-November. And it's also November 12th if you apply for a PUI travel grant. So by the middle of November, you should hear about all three of those.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
If you're not sure yet, I hope that we were able to answer questions about funding for this year. And keep in mind, this is ongoing funding. So if it didn't line up with your expectations for this year, or for some reason you're not able to attend, we welcome you to come the next year. So I've been going to joint math meetings for decades. So they keep on coming, and it's a really amazing time to get together as mathematicians and share. So I hope to see you all there, if not this time next. We will have a programs booth in the exhibit hall, so you'll be able to see and kind of be out and about. There you'll know some, when you see us at the green end, you go, oh, I know this. So I hope you come up and say hi. Is there any other question that we can address for anyone here with us?
No.
Not so sure? Okay. Well, I'm going to put in the chat for everyone. We've given our contact information through the slide deck, and I'm just going to repeat that email because email is such a good way to follow up. Yeah, and I know that something might occur to you, or you might carry this information back. If you're a faculty member, you might be carrying this back to students. If you're a student, you might be carrying it back to some of your fellow mathematicians. So you may have follow-up questions, and we'd like you to reach out to us if there's something you can't find on our website or through the math programs applications themselves. Again, this information about applying is all on mathprograms.org. And throughout the talk today, we gave you some of the direct links, but if you go to mathprograms.org, there's lots of opportunities there, and within those opportunities, so there's a lot to check out. And I think that's it. We will all remain on the call for a while longer in case anyone wants a one-on-one question, but otherwise, I think that will likely conclude our official travel grant webinar. So we really appreciate you all being here, bringing all the questions.